Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves in the build. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you are new. Chelsea versus Aston Villa preview. We have got a blockbuster encounter. I'm not talking about Liverpool versus Man City in the late kickoff on the Sunday. I'm talking about the 2 p.m. kickoff. We could go into second if we win this match, at least for a few hours, but most likely for the foreseeable, because Manchester City are in poor form and they're travelling to the top of the table. So we have a great opportunity in Maresca's early Chelsea tenure to put ourselves in a very good position in the Premier League table. What does that mean? Does it mean more than it seems? We'll talk about it later on in the video. Aston Villa at home. This is not an easy game. I know Aston Villa have not won in the last 7 matches, but we have not beaten them in the last 3 at home. I cast your minds back to the 1-0 defeat last season. Watkins cutting across it, nestling it across Sanchez into the back of the net, losing to them the season before 2-0 at home as well, drawing against them at home last season in the FA Cup, which forced a replay, which we won. And our home record this season is a bit mediocre. It's a bit meaty. We're 12th in the home table. So we need to make Stamford Bridge a fortress. It's not that quite yet. There's quite a few draws in there. The Palaces, the Arsenals, Nottingham Forest. But Aston Villa are not in great form. I know their away record is better than their home, but they're not in great form. No win in the last 7, like I said. So it is a game where, regardless of the previous statistics and the previous encounters, I'm still feeling confident, but I just know it will be close. I do respect Villa, and you have to. They're a very good side. But, like I said on the thumbnail, as you can see with Watkins and Jackson, that was the deciding factor for last year. Will it be the deciding factor for this year? I think it could be. Jackson has elevated himself this season. He's put himself in different conversations, in different group chats. He deserves to be in these conversations. I believe he's in the category with the Isaks, with the Watkins. He's got more goals in the Premier League this season than both of them. And the great thing about him is he's not had to stat pad. We're not giving Jackson penalties like some strikers get fortuitously. We're not giving him Conference League games to stat pad and up his numbers, or games against Barrow in the Carabao Cup. Jackson is having to do it the hard way in the Premier League with no penalties, and he's handling business. He got his goal last week. Wonderful, well taken finish. He's joint top with Salah for shot conversions, 25% this season. That is fantastic. That's a fantastic percentage. You know, that is the upper echelons. That's what we wanted from him last season when we're talking about progression, improvement. His all-round game has always been there. He's always had the attributes to run the channels, to hold up the ball, to dribble, to carry. He was even spoken about as a potential left winger. And that's even something I mentioned. I said, right, if your finishing or your shot conversion doesn't improve, you miss many big chances, you're not a bum, you're not a flop. We can move you to left wing because you're a great ball carrier. You go past players, you can create. But he's been kept down the middle by Maresca. He's been given the trust and the faith to not be displaced, and he is handling business. And now the conversation changes. Does it become Chelsea? We're looking at Osimhen, looking at Gyökeres. Now do they look at Liam Delap, who we've been linked with? You know, is it more of a secondary, you know, feeder, helper striker, as opposed to the new big hitter, money man, 100 million move? You know, that's the question in the comments I have for you. Do we go for the big names, or the Umarodions and the Delaps and the, you know, the lesser names, the smaller price points, the supporting acts? It's something to keep in mind. But in this game, he's going to be critical. Him versus Watkins, who can be the player to put the ball in the back of the net for their club and put their team over the line for the big 3 points. And I think I actually now can say, you know, with a bit of confidence, that I'm backing Jackson to do it over Watkins, because he's got more goals than him this season. Watkins has not scored in the Champions League this season. It's not like as if they're poles apart now. We can have that conversation. We can actually say, you know what, yeah, Jackson, we think we can look to you to win us the game in these crucial moments. So I'm looking forward to that battle. What I'm not looking forward to is Reece James out injured until the end of December. Probably won't see him until 2025. He could have been crucial for this game, as he would have been as captain and as an individual and as a player. But now we have to look for alternatives. You know, we have to look at Malo Gusto coming back. Is he ready for this type of game? Is he, you know, fully fit to start? Is he just kind of easing himself back in? Do we need to go with Fofana again at the right back position? We'll get into it with the tactical pad. But Reece James not being available for these big games. And this is a big game for me, because this is a team that finished 4th last season. They're going for the Champions League spots again. They're in the Champions League this season. Not having him available for these matches and Tottenham coming up is not great, especially when you're trying to prove a point and say, right, we can beat the better teams in this table and we're not going to just take a point and go home. Is Reece James done and dusted? Are we going to have to change the way we look at what he can be and become? Or is it just a straight release and, you know, let him into the wilderness? I've spoken to some friends to ask this very question.
Peak Reece James was scoring goals. Peak Reece James was assisting consistently. Peak Reece James was a top 10 talent in the Premier League. I think he still has the ability to be that. I think he still has the ability to score goals, create assists. But I mean, put it this way. Like, we now saw Maresca bring him back in a role where it was clear fitness was on his mind. We didn't see Reece James in the Malo Gusto role getting into half spaces. We saw Reece James in the back three, basically, whether it was on the left or the right. If Reece James could get guaranteed fitness, you'd want Reece James in those spaces that Malo Gusto is in, way more than Malo Gusto. So I don't know, even if he is fit, if he'll even be used in the way to be peak Reece James again.
Have I given up on peak Reece James? I have. Okay, so I haven't given up on Reece James, but I've sadly given up on peak Reece James. Do you want me to show my working on that, or is it like...
What does that mean for you? Does that mean like a position change? Does that mean like a relinquishing of the armband? Maybe he gives it to someone as well. People are talking about that.
Yeah, that's tough, bro. So, yeah, positionally, massively, or at least, like, how he's deployed, even if he's sort of occupying similar positions. He's not going to be this, like, absolutely, like, tearing guy who just, like, you know, doesn't care about his hammies anymore and just flies down, you know, the touchline and sticks and crosses, then gets back and defends like that. That is... Even if he's fit and fit, you can't ask him to do that just because of the danger it represents. But, can you swear on this show,
You
bro?
can swear. More than you can believe.
He's a
Swear to your
fucking
heart's
good...
content.
He's a fucking good footballer, bro.
I can't give up on my captain like that easily. I'm sorry. I simply can't do that. Even if he's like available for like 30% of the season, we got Gusto, we have other options. I still feel like we can benefit from James's quality.
You know, with Reece, it's all about himself, his potential relinquishing of the captain's armband for me and saying, actually, I hand it in. I hand in my badge. I'm not leaving the task force. I'm not leaving the police department, but I hand in my badge. And Acheampong signing that new deal and giving us the backup to Gusto that we desperately need in case Gusto gets injured, because he's got a niggle or two that he loves as well. So let's get into the tactical pad and let's talk about the makeup of this defence, because against Aston Villa, it's not like Leicester. I think the transition threat will be a little bit more fierce. And does that mean Badiashile will have the same role once again to get in front of the runners, to block that path, to win that tackle, to make that interception, to win that header, and to stop that counter-attacking threat before it even happens? Let's bring up that pad. So this is the team that played against Leicester City last weekend. A very strong performance, very comprehensive, comfortable, to be honest, more than the scoreline suggested. Now, I'm not going to waste any time. I'm taking out Sanchez immediately and I'm putting Jorgensen in purely because I need to see what this keeper is capable of. He had a man-of-the-match performance midweek. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I need to see longevity, long-term, see what the scouts really scouted. So I want him in the team. He deserves it on merit. So that's the first change. Now, the other two players in this defensive five, if I just split the pitch real quick, on the left side of the screen, your five that you're defending with, those transitions that I spoke about, the Watkins, the Rogers, the McGinns, the Fred, that's the five from last week. I think that five is pretty balanced in terms of tenacity, personality, pace, aerial dominance with Badiashile, if he plays to his level like he did. Caicedo, you know, I think there's enough in there for me to just say, right, we're going to leave that alone. We're not going to bring Lavia in, who I think gave the penalty away, maybe still carrying that knock. Because if we bring Lavia in, Cucurella doesn't usually start because then there's no inverting left back. And he's played Reece James at left side centre back, he's played Colwell, etc. Gusto, again, if you bring him in, it kind of disturbs it a little bit. Maybe you put Colwell wide centre back then. If you're not dropping Fofana, he goes into the middle, or Gusto goes right, or Gusto starts overlapping and getting into 8s and 10s again and all that stuff. So it's a lot. I'd leave it how it is. Leave those guys on the bench. Let them really get back to full match sharpness with Reece James being out, especially. We need to have Gusto fully fit. The front five is very complicated. I don't really have an answer. I'll be honest. There's a lot to go in here. Madueke, for me, definitely shouldn't be starting on merit. It should be Neto or Felix or Sancho. Now, that's where you come in, guys. You talk to me. Do you play all three of them? Do you play two of them? Which ones do you play? Felix played very well last week. He was one of our best players in terms of getting the ball back, which is not something you'd expect to say in a Premier League game, but his intensity off the ball, his positioning, his work rate was on point. We're going to need that in this game. Neto, if Villa are going to play that high line that we even saw last year before Gusto got sent off, we need Neto to be making those runs in behind, making those decisions, whether it's assists, goals. I think he's perfect for this type of game. But then you've also got Sancho that got 2 assists in the midweek game, and the manager's been saying, listen, against low blocks, he's going to be vital. And we saw with his footwork, his cutbacks, that is definitely correct. Maybe this is not the game for him. Maybe there won't be so many there won't really be a low block from Emery. So, but is Enzo key? Because sometimes, like I said, Lavia comes in from more tricky games, more tightly contested. Is Enzo critical? Is he key to not only this game, but Chelsea in general going forward? I asked some mates this very question.
I'm going to say no. I think the writing's on the wall a little bit from Maresca and how much Maresca has stressed the physicality that he loves between Lavia and Caicedo. And although Enzo has actually been more physical as of late, like especially in the most recent game, I still think that when push comes to shove, there's something about the combo of Lavia and Caicedo that Maresca prefers. And I do think at the end of the day, Enzo Fernandez, I just cannot stop thinking that he's best for like a Real Madrid type midfield. They got a real DM, and then maybe a real attacking mid, and Enzo can kind of be right in the middle and have a bit of a free roll. I don't think he's going to properly make it here.
Last season, injuries, personal stuff happening in his life as well. You can understand when you're younger how that could maybe take a toll on your game. If you're giving up hope already, calm down a little bit. Like, the guy is going to come goods, and I wouldn't really worry about him being a flop for us at all.
Is he going to be a centerpiece at Chelsea? Because if he's not, he's going to want to leave at some point.
Well,
Yeah.
bro, that was exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say to you, he's going to make it somewhere. It doesn't mean it's a failure if he doesn't make it at Chelsea. It just means it didn't fit and it didn't work out in the end. That can just happen in football. But he's got star quality, bro. He might be one of those players that a bit Nkunku-y, that have undeniable quality, but might have to go elsewhere to like reach their, peak and be that superstar. The thing is with Enzo, he's a lot younger than the likes of Nkunku, and he's already a star for Argentina, whereas using Nkunku as an example, he's trying to hold down that starting spot for France. He's got a bit of a shit how he'll fight for the team, he'll fight for you. That's why I think Real Madrid, because like he's a bit of a dickhead. He'll be a bit Sergio Ramos, he'll be a bit like classy, spraying the ball around. Whether that means he's going to be a success in the Chelsea functional midfield, or if he needs to go and be a Galactico somewhere and spray it about a little bit. But I'm a believer in Enzo and his quality, but I've got trust that if he goes,
he'll make it.
He'll make it, and it's for the best for us. It's for the best for us. I want you to ask me that question in 2 months' time. I know, I'm not saying, because I'm not saying 2 years' time, or like, I'm saying 2 months, because he had that, he's come into the team and he's done a little bit. I'm still like, oh, we need to see him under Maresca a little bit more.
So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Do you play Enzo Fernandez in this match as well? I think I would go with the team that you're seeing on screen. I think I'd leave Sancho to the bench just purely because I do think it's going to be a pace situation in behind. I think there's going to be a high line. I think Felix has shown that he can take advantage of that. He played a great pass for Nkunku in that game midweek to set him up for a 1v1. Neto, for sure, makes sense in that regard as well. He's been very good recently, our best winger, to be honest. And Enzo, listen, I think we need to reward him. He was basically man of the match last week, so let's see if he can continue it against Aston Villa in this game. So you guys let me know, though, is that your team that you want to see on screen? And we're fighting with fire this week as Maresca to make it abundantly crystal clear that we are not in a title race this season. We don't say that willingly, we say it realistically. I completely agree. We're just not going to go on, in my opinion, a 10 to 15 game winning run, which is usually what it takes to win the title. We did it under Conte. You will remember that run, win at the Etihad with Hazard. That is what it takes. That's the level of quality. That's the level of consistency. That's the mentality. This team isn't ready. And Arsenal have done that in previous seasons. Twice. They've gone on these crazy runs. We saw it. Liverpool have done it previously with this spine of players. Van Dijk's, Konate's, Alisson's, Trent's, Salah's. And City are crumbling. But doesn't mean we're ready. Really what people are trying to do is build us up to knock us down and try to move the goalposts on what the expectations and the predictions were at the start of the season. We are a little horse at best. And a little horse in that campaign under Mourinho still accumulated 82 points, still beat Manchester City at the Etihad, still beat Liverpool at Anfield. I like the fact that Maresca's making it clear. I like the fact that he's keeping the team grounded and keeping them realistic, because really, what do we have to gain from lying? Nothing. We've seen title winning teams before. We've seen the spine. We've seen the Costas, the Courtois, the Hazards, the Matiches, the Terrys, the Cahills. We've seen it. So why do we need to pretend like we've seen something this season that indicates a title winning season? It just isn't. But just in case anybody's thinking, wow, Matisse, I'd love a different opinion.
Absolutely not.
That's a good question.
I don't want to jinx nothing. I'm going to keep it humble. I'm going to say no.
No.
Okay.
Our goalkeeper. Can Liverpool continue this to this degree? Will they have a come down? They very well might, right? City, of course. Not only are City struggling, they've literally just said, oh yeah, no Rodri. Okay, we'll do Kovacic. Now Kovacic is out for a month, but that was never a serviceable backup for Rodri anyway. So I think it's there. But at the end of the day, man, I think we have a goalkeeper that you just can't win a Premier League title with.
It feels a bit too cocky to like confidently say it's definitely a title challenge. But, oh, bro, you know what? I don't want to jinx nothing. I'm going to keep it humble. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Not right now. Not right now. But I'm feeling optimistic, though. I'm feeling that energy.
I think we will face adversity this season that we haven't faced yet, but I think we will finish in a Champions League qualifying position, which I think will be represented by a top 5 finish.
The prediction for this Aston Villa game, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Chelsea win. It's going to be tight. It's going to be very difficult, but I think we can get over the line. You guys let me know your predictions in the comments down below. Make sure you smash up the likes. Let me know, are we in a title race? Is Enzo critical and key for the long term and the short term in this match? And talk to me about Reece as well.